HOA complained about my garage fortifications. It's actually a certified tornado bunker. Have you ever poured your heart into protecting your family, only to be slapped with a fine for doing the right thing? In the quiet cul-de-sac of Willow Creek, Alabama, where tornado sirens wail like clockwork every spring, Mark Thompson thought he was building a fortress of safety for his wife and 2 young daughters. Instead, he found himself locked in a battle with his HOA group, more concerned with curb appeal than survival. What started as a simple home improvement project, a certified tornado bunker built into his garage, spiraled into a showdown that exposed petty power plays, hidden agendas, and a community's resilience when pushed to the brink. Mark had lived in Willow Creek for 5 years, a neighborhood of tidy lawns and matching mailboxes, where the HOA's iron grip ensured every blade of grass was regulation length. Tornadoes were a fact of life in Alabama, and after a close call last spring on EF3 that shredded a nearby subdivision, Mark decided enough was enough. His house, like most in the area, sat on a slab foundation with no basement. The family's emergency plan was a cramped closet under the stairs, a flimsy defense against 200 miles per hour winds. So he researched, saved, and hired a contractor to install a FEMA-certified tornado bunker in his garage. The bunker, an 8x8x8 concrete box with a reinforced steel lid, was discreetly built into the garage floor, barely noticeable unless you knew where to look. It was a practical solution designed to keep his family safe without altering the home's exterior. He even secured permits from the city and registered the shelter with the county for emergency response purposes. Everything was by the book, or so he thought. 2 weeks after the installation, a certified letter arrived from the Willow Creek HOA. The board claimed his unauthorized structural modification violated the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC and RS, specifically rules against altering the garage's appearance or function. They demanded he remove the bunker and slapped him with a $50 daily fine until he complied. Mark was stunned. The bunker was inside his garage, hidden from view, and built for safety in a tornado-prone region. He'd followed every local regulation, yet the HOA was treating him like he'd painted his house neon pink. Furious, he requested a hearing with the board, determined to set things straight. At the hearing, Mark faced a panel of 5 board members, led by Karen Whitaker, the HOA president with a reputation for wielding her gavel like a scepter. Karen, a retired real estate agent who seemed to thrive on control, opened the meeting with a lecture about maintaining community standards. Mark presented his case. The bunker's FEMA certification, the city permits, the fact that it didn't alter the garage's exterior or affect property values. He even shared a harrowing story about his neighbor's cousin, who'd lost everything in a tornado just 20 miles away. But Karen wasn't swayed. "This isn't about safety," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "It's about consistency. If we let you modify your garage, what's next? Someone turning theirs into a gym or a workshop?" The other board members nodded, except for Tom, a quiet engineer who seemed uneasy but stayed silent. Mark pushed back, citing Alabama's tornado risks. Over 1,000 tornadoes hit the U.S. annually, with Alabama in the heart of the Southeast's Tornado Alley. He argued that the CC and RS didn't explicitly prohibit safety modifications like storm shelters, and the bunker was installed in a way that complied with all aesthetic guidelines. Karen doubled down, claiming the board had discretionary authority to interpret the rules as they saw fit. The meeting ended with the fines upheld and a 30-day deadline to remove the bunker. Mark left feeling betrayed, wondering how a safety measure could be twisted into a violation. Then came the twist. A week later, Mark's neighbor, Sarah, a single mom who'd recently moved in, pulled him aside. She'd overheard Karen at a community potluck boasting about teaching Mark a lesson, because he'd once challenged her at an HOA meeting over a proposed fee hike. Sarah, who worked as a paralegal, had dug into the HOA's governing documents and found something startling. Karen's husband owned a local construction company that had bid on Mark's bunker project but lost to a competitor. The rejection wasn't just about rules, it was personal. Sarah also discovered that the CC and RS required board decisions to be made transparently, with documented reasons for denials. Karen's vague aesthetic excuse didn't hold up, and the board hadn't followed proper procedure by failing to provide written justification. Armed with this information, Mark rallied. He and Sarah organized a group of homeowners, many of whom were equally fed up with the HOA's overreach. They found allies in unexpected places. Tom, the engineer from the board, quietly joined their cause, admitting he'd been pressured by Karen to stay silent. Another neighbor, an older man named Mr. Jenkins, shared how he'd wanted a storm shelter for years but was deterred by the HOA's strict rules. Together, they drafted a petition demanding a special meeting to address the bunker issue and the board's conduct. Under Alabama law, homeowners could call such a meeting with enough signatures, and they quickly gathered more than the required 20% of the community. The special meeting was a powder keg. Over 50 homeowners packed the community center, a stark contrast to the usual half-dozen at regular meetings. Mark presented his case again, this time with Sarah's research and Tom's insider perspective. He revealed Karen's conflict of interest, citing her husband's failed bid and the lack of transparency in the board's decision. The room buzzed with outrage as neighbors shared their own stories of Karen's heavy-handed tactics, fines for minor infractions like unapproved flower beds or holiday lights left up a day too long. Tom spoke up, admitting the board had ignored safety concerns in favor of Karen's agenda. The crowd's anger was palpable, but Mark urged calm, focusing on solutions, amending the CC and RS to explicitly allow tornado shelters and requiring board members to disclose conflicts of interest. Karen's defense crumbled. She stammered about protecting property values, but her arguments rang hollow against the backdrop of Alabama's tornado reality. When Mr. Jenkins stood and recounted losing a friend in a 2011 tornado outbreak, tears in his eyes, the room fell silent. The vote was swift. The fines against Mark were overturned, and a new rule was proposed to permit certified storm shelters with minimal oversight, as long as they met city codes. Karen's leadership was called into question, and a motion to hold a special election for a new board president gained traction. By the end of the night, Karen resigned, citing personal reasons, though whispers of her husband's business dealings followed her out the door. The fallout was bittersweet. Mark's bunker stayed, a quiet testament to his family's safety and his resolve. The HOA, under new leadership, began revising its rules to prioritize practicality over petty control. Tom stepped up as interim president, promising transparency and fairness. Sarah became a community hero, her paralegal skills sparking a wave of homeowner engagement. Mr. Jenkins even started planning his own shelter, inspired by Mark's fight. The neighborhood felt differentless, like a gated prison, more like a community ready to face the storms together. In the end, Mark's stand wasn't just about a bunker. It was about standing up to unchecked power and reminding everyone that safety and fairness matter more than arbitrary rules. His daughters now sleep better, knowing they have a safe place to go when the sirens wail. Willow Creek is stronger for it, but the scars of the fight linger, a reminder that even in a community bound by rules, it takes courage to challenge the status quo. What do you think? Was Mark right to fight the HOA's overreach, or should he have complied to keep the peace? Share your thoughts. Have you ever faced a similar battle with an HOA?